All right, good afternoon and welcome to Hybrid Myth Busting. This is our first ever virtual training of the New York Toyota Sales Training Team. So I just want to introduce myself. I'm Jeremy Neal. I'm here with Brian Kaiser and our newest member to the Sales Training Team, Joyce Tristan. So Brian and I are going to be presenting today, and Joyce will be fielding any of your questions in the chat feature. So feel free to go ahead and enter those in the chat at any time, and when we end the session, we'll go ahead and have time for some of the Q&A. A little bit of housekeeping. You should be muted already. If you do want to communicate with us, you can unmute, so just go ahead and type in the chat feature anything you may want to add or any questions you may have. In the future, if you did call in on a phone, on a landline or just a cell phone, just be aware that in future training classes, you will be able to download the WebEx app to a mobile device or tablet, or you can also go on the website, WebEx website, and download the software so you can watch the video presentation along with us. So if you want to do that in the future, feel free. We do encourage it. And these sessions will be recorded, so if you do miss one in the future, you can also watch that on our YouTube channel. So mute no problem, but chat features, a little chat box, so you can type in that. Again, feel free at any time. Future trainings, just so you're aware, we're going to do these every week for the month of June, starting today, and then on Tuesday and Friday of every week for the rest of June. We will have one at 1 p.m. You can see the different topics that we're going to discuss over the next several weeks. Also, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. Those QR codes, if you are viewing on a computer, you can open up your camera on your phone, just hold it over one of the QR codes, and it'll take you right to our page, and you can follow us. Just be aware that we will be giving you a lot of information, putting it out on social media, so it's good to keep in touch, and any pertinent information like new vehicle launches, maybe new features, or things we want you to be aware of will be posted there. So why are we talking about hybrids and all this myth busting? Well, as you're probably aware, your inventories have shrunk a little bit due to the COVID-19 era, where we did have to shut down production for 2 months, and now we've done better than expected in sales in the month of May. So for June, we're not going to have a lot of gas inventory, but we will have some availability of hybrid vehicles to sell. So for that reason, we are putting our incentive package to focus on hybrids. And in fact, this is the first time ever that every single Toyota hybrid will have 0% interest across the board. If it's got a hybrid badge, it's 0%. And also, for those sales consultants, you will get $100 spins on the core 4 hybrids. So that will include Corolla Hybrid, Camry Hybrid, RAV4 Hybrid, and Highlander Hybrid. All right, so let me just ask you, what is the #1 reason that your customers come in and give you why they reject purchasing a hybrid vehicle? I'm sure you've heard many of them over the years, and some of them may have been legitimate at some point, but now in 2020, I think we pretty much have something for everyone. So if you would just take a minute, type those rejection reasons into the chat feature. It looks like we have several of them. So they're too expensive. You know, people will come in and their perception is that hybrids cost a lot. They get good gas mileage, but there's a big price premium to pay. Also, the batteries don't last very long. Okay, that's very common. People think the batteries are very, very expensive, and just like any other device that has a battery, typically it will wear out and need replacement at some point. And another one is going to be people think you have to plug them in, and they don't want to charge the vehicle. Interestingly enough, that is the top rejection reason why people do not buy hybrid vehicles. They think you have to plug it in to charge it. Now, I think we all know that that's not true. We launched the Prius originally, and we spent probably 10 years trying to convince people that you don't have to plug it in, right? You just put gas in it and drive like any other car. Then we brought out a plug-in Prius, which you could plug in. And of course, that eventually became the Prius Prime, and soon we will be launching the RAV4 Prime, which both of those vehicles can be plugged in if a consumer chooses, but it's not necessary. You can still drive them just on gas, never plug them in. You'll still get the EPA estimated fuel economy for that vehicle. For example, Prius over 50 miles per gallon. All right, so that myth is busted. Now, don't assume your customers know all these things. It may seem basic or simple to us, but when they come in, they may have that perception. They may be coming in on a gas RAV or a gas Camry and not even consider a hybrid. Make sure you're mentioning that, and don't assume that they know everything about hybrids, even though we've been selling hybrids for over 20 years. Myth number 2, hybrids are small, fuel-efficient cars. Well, that is true in some cases. However, by the end of the year, we'll be offering a total of 9 different hybrid models in the Toyota lineup. We just launched the new 2020 Highlander Hybrid, and soon the Venza Hybrid and Sienna Hybrid will be hitting your showrooms. So you can see our lineup is expanding. We have a full lineup of sedans. We've got all-wheel drive vehicles, all-wheel drive Prius. We've got now SUVs with RAV, Highlander, Venza, a minivan with Sienna. So regardless of what the customer is searching for, we pretty much can cover their needs with a hybrid vehicle. Myth number 3, hybrid cars are complicated to drive. Well, of course that's not true. They drive just like any other vehicle. The only exception may be Prius, because the gear selector is a little bit different, but nowadays there's a lot of different ways manufacturers are integrating gear selectors, whether it's a push button or a dial control, even a toggle switch on the steering wheel. So there's different ways you can put a vehicle in gear, but for the most part, they drive just like any conventional gas-powered vehicle. Myth 4, hybrids are new and virtually untested technology. Well, if you look back, we launched hybrid technology in Japan in 1997 with the first Prius. Second generation Prius came to the US in late 2000 as a 2001 model year. So this is a technology that's existed for 23 years on the market. I mean, we were working on it for decades prior to that. And if you look at the consumer reports and a lot of the J.D. Power and reliability reports, most of our Toyota hybrid vehicles rank in the top of their segments in terms of reliability. So have they been proven and tested? Absolutely. Are they reliable? Of course. It's a Toyota. The other thing to consider is there's a lot of other technology people depend on and don't think twice about purchasing, like, say, a smartphone. I mean, the Prius has been around for 10 years longer than the iPhone. So nobody ever questions the reliability of a smartphone or an iPhone when they purchase it, so why would you question hybrid technology? In fact, 15 million hybrids, Toyota hybrids, have been sold globally since we initially launched. And of course, other automakers have hybrids they offer too, more and more all the time. But we're definitely a leader in this technology. Myth number 5, hybrid cars won't actually save the environment. Well, I'm not sure about saving the environment, but Toyota hybrids can emit about 50% less pollution and, depending on the vehicle, consume about 50% less fuel than a conventional vehicle. So they're certainly going to cut down on the amount of fossil fuels we consume and the amount of tailpipe emissions that are put out into the atmosphere. And myth number 6, hybrid cars are too expensive. So there was a time when the technology was new. Just like any new technology, it tends to be a little bit more expensive, but that's changed. So as we've progressed over the years, the technology has become less expensive. In fact, we have a lot of cars now that we only charge about $1,000 more for the hybrid version, like a RAV, for example. Now, are you just paying for the hybrid powertrain for better fuel economy? No. In a lot of cases, there's a performance upgrade. There's more horsepower in a RAV4 hybrid versus a RAV4 gas. Corolla hybrid, more powerful than the Corolla LE gas power vehicle. You're also going to get typically some more equipment. You're going to get things like push-button start, which you may not get on every model of the gas version, maybe alloy wheels as an upgrade, and dual-zone climate control. So don't focus on just the difference in price. Build value in that additional cost of the vehicle with those additional features, performance, and fuel economy. So now what I'd like to do is turn it over to Brian Kaiser so he can finish up the rest of the myths. Go ahead, Brian.
All righty. Thank you, Jeremy. So we're halfway through these myths, and we're up to number 7. Hybrid cars are great for fuel economy, but not for performance. So obviously, fuel economy has been a focus of hybrid technology in the past, and all of our hybrids get exceptional fuel economy. But what you may not know, and what customers certainly don't know, is that hybrids also mean performance. So these days, if you look at, those expensive supercars like Ferraris and Porsches, even Formula One race cars, and the car that you see pictured on the slide, our Le Mans car, are hybrid vehicles. So hybrids, the electric motors provide a lot of torque, a lot of performance, and you can definitely emphasize that when you're showing customers hybrids, especially on a test drive. Let them feel the acceleration, the torque from the electric motors, and in a lot of models, it's significantly more than the gas counterparts. So Jeremy mentioned vehicles like Corolla, RAV, those are good examples, Camry also, where you get more performance than the gas equivalent. Let's move to the next myth, number 8. Special maintenance for hybrids, and maybe even more maintenance. It's actually the opposite. Because of the hybrid system, there are actually fewer components that require maintenance. And the intervals, while being the same, typically you don't have to look at, check, or maintain certain items on a hybrid that you would on a conventional gas model. So a good example would be the braking system. Because the hybrids use a regenerative braking system that uses the electric motors to do the majority of the braking, you save the normal wear and tear on the mechanical braking system. So it's not unusual for customers to get upwards of 100,000 miles on original brake pads. And again, that's going to save them money over time, that they don't have to do that brake maintenance. The image on the far right is the power split device from a Prius. That essentially replaces a automatic transmission. And as you can see, it's a relatively compact piece. It's only a few dozen moving parts, as opposed to a normal automatic transmission, which can have over 1,000 individual pieces. So unlike an automatic transmission, this is a sealed unit, does not need to be maintained. So you're going to save on that sort of traditional maintenance. And there are other components that hybrids have or lack that conventional gas vehicles do, like belts. So hybrids all have beltless engines. And then a lot of the components like the AC compressor or the fuel pump are run on electrical systems rather than driven off belt systems. All right, let's move on. Number 9, that weird noise when you're backing up. Very noticeable in a RAV4 hybrid. That is actually an artificial noise. That's a requirement for safety reasons. So because vehicles running in electric mode, both in reverse and going forward, are essentially silent, the government requires the vehicle to make some artificial noise, essentially to warn pedestrians for their own safety. Okay, so that's what that noise is. Number 10, the batteries. So this usually comes up first because people have heard in the past that the batteries are very expensive and that they need to replace, again, just like any other battery in any other product. But when you tell consumers that the battery is actually designed and engineered to last the life of the vehicle and is covered under an extensive warranty, then 72% of consumers would now consider a hybrid. So you might want to be proactive and just bring up this fact. You may have noticed that starting with the 2020 model year hybrids, Toyota actually increased the standard battery warranty to 10 years, 150,000 miles. So again, just for extra peace of mind for the customer that even if they own the vehicle for a long time and there is any issue with the battery, which is actually pretty rare, they will be covered for that very lengthy time period and mileage. Number 11, special fuel. Do your hybrids need special fuel? Do they need premium fuel? Actually, the answer is no. They're actually designed and engineered to run on 87 octane fuel, which is regular gasoline. And if you've checked gas prices recently, you know that there's actually a pretty big spread between regular and premium, especially in the summer, anywhere from 25 to 30, up to 50 cents I've seen a gallon. So being able to put regular fuel in the vehicle is actually a good cost saver. A lot of our competitors are trying to get good fuel economy by using smaller displacement, turbocharged engines, many of which require premium fuel. So Toyota will always run on 87 octane fuel, saving you money, in addition to great gas mileage. And then our final myth is about the B mode. So you've all noticed that B designation on the Prius shifter. It actually stands for braking mode. It's a federal requirement that all cars have to have a low gear for the equivalent. So as you know, our hybrids don't have a traditional transmission with set gears. It has a CVT. So the B just simulates a lower gear or a downshift. And again, it's a requirement for all automobiles, and it does not give you better MPG. It actually hurts your fuel economy because it creates a drag on the vehicle. So that's the last myth we have. So what we'd like to do is just kind of review all 12, just so you're clear on what the myth busting is all about.
All right, thanks, Brian. So just a quick recap, so everybody is aware. And again, don't take this stuff for granted, because the average consumer may not be aware of all these things. So hybrid cars have to be plugged in. Number one, rejection reasons: people don't buy hybrids. Well, we know that's not true. People don't have to plug them in. In fact, you can't, most of them, unless you get a prime. And then even those vehicles, you don't have to actually plug in. You can still drive them just on gas. Hybrids are new and virtually untested technology. Well, that's not true. They've been around for over 23 years. Some of the most reliable cars in their class. You know, and it's not new technology. Maybe something that a consumer has never purchased before, but that doesn't mean it's new to the industry. Hybrids are small and fuel efficient. They can be, but they can also be mid-sized crossovers. They could be minivans. They could be full-size sedans. So whatever the customer needs, we probably have a hybrid model for them. Hybrids are complicated to drive? Nope. They drive just like any other car. No additional training or any additional controls that you wouldn't have in a conventional vehicle. Hybrid cars won't actually save the environment. Well, they will reduce pollution. They're going to consume a lot less fuel, and they're going to emit a lot less pollution from the tailpipe. And hybrid cars are too expensive. Well, they do have a slight upcharge for the hybrid version, but you're getting a lot more than just a little bit better economy. Could be better performance, additional equipment, of course, less maintenance overall. So there's a lot of savings, even long-term, in owning a hybrid. All right, so I'll turn it back over to Brian.
Okay, hybrids are great for fuel economy, but not performance. As we mentioned, there are quite a few Toyota models where the hybrid version has more power, has more off-the-line torque, so that's just not true anymore. Hybrids actually equal performance as well as great fuel economy. As far as the maintenance requirements, we talked about that: less brake maintenance, fewer components to maintain overall in the vehicle. So there are actually fewer maintenance items, and you will be saving money over the lifetime of the vehicle in maintenance. The weird noise thing, that again is just a safety requirement, so that people in the vicinity of the car know that there's a moving vehicle and aren't too surprised. The batteries, this is a big one, and you need to be very well versed in the batteries. The new warranty, which is 10 years, 150,000 miles, and also the fact that they're designed to last life of the vehicle. So that's just peace of mind for the customer. They shouldn't be concerned about the batteries for the replacement. Special fuel, there's not a requirement. 87 octane. If you put plus or premium in it, it's not giving you any advantage. You're just wasting money. Put the 87 in it, you'll get every bit of the EPA estimated MPG and even more. And then finally, the B mode, that's braking mode. It does not give you better MPG. It's just an artificial lower gear that's put on the vehicle by requirement. All right, so at this time, if you have any questions, we'll take your questions in the chat.
All right, so we got a few questions coming in. Looks like they're inquiring about the timing of the Prius Prime. So just to let everybody know, our vehicle cadence or launch cadence that we had planned was pushed back a little bit. Obviously, with the COVID-19 situation, our manufacturing was shut down for a couple of months, so that did push back the launch of a couple of the new vehicles coming this year. But they're still on track to launch this year. RAV will be coming this summer, and Venza will be along right behind it as well. So you can look forward to those first, and then Sienna will launch toward the end of the year. So that's going to be the schedule for new vehicle launches for the rest of this year. All right. And what other questions do we have? Brian, did you get any questions?
See, there's a question about do you have to plug in the RAV4 Prime?
Yeah, so you don't have to plug in the RAV4 Prime, but you can. It looks like the estimated range is going to be just over 40 miles on EV. So if you do plug it in, you can drive in electric mode for just over 40 miles, and then it will switch over to the gas hybrid mode. Now, if you don't plug it in, you're still going to run just in the traditional gas hybrid mode and still get that great fuel economy. Any other questions? All right, with that, we're going to go ahead and just give you an update on our social media. So again, if you want to follow us, feel free. You can take a snapshot of the QR codes. We will be posting this video on YouTube. So if you would like to refer to it, feel free, share it with your friends. And lastly, just a reminder of the next training classes. So you will get an invite to the RAV4 Hybrid training for June 9th. So that's this coming Tuesday. So hope to see you there. And thanks again, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Be safe. Take care.